Welcome to AI on Advanced Intelligence Podcast, the podcast where we explore the intersection of technology, cognition, and everyday life. I'm your host, Jamie Carter. Today, we're diving into a topic that's both fascinating and a little unsettling: how our growing reliance on AI tools might be reshaping the way we think. Joining me is Dr. Alina Torres, a cognitive psychologist and researcher who's been studying the impact of technology on critical thinking. Alina, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jamie. It's a pleasure to talk about this, especially because, as your listeners might guess, I've got opinions about how we're using AI.
Oh, I bet. Let's start with the basics. The study we're discussing today found that people who use AI tools more frequently tend to have weaker critical thinking skills. But before we get into the why, let's define some terms. What exactly is critical thinking?
Great question. Critical thinking isn't just about being skeptical or asking questions, though that's part of it. It's the ability to analyze information, evaluate arguments, spot biases, and make reasoned decisions. Imagine you're reading a news article. A critical thinker doesn't just accept the headline, they ask, who wrote this? What's the evidence? Are there other perspectives? It's like mental CrossFit. It keeps your brain agile.
And the study mentions something called cognitive offloading. That sounds technical. Break it down for us.
Sure, cognitive offloading is when you outsource mental tasks to external tools. Think of it like using a calculator instead of doing math in your head. That's harmless, right? But when we offload too much, like relying on GPS to navigate instead of learning a city's layout, our brains stop exercising those skills. The study argues that AI tools, from chatbots to recommendation algorithms, are becoming the ultimate cognitive crutches.
So if I'm using ChatGPT to write emails or Google to answer trivia, am I weakening my brain?
Not exactly. It's more nuanced. Let's use an analogy. If you never walk anywhere because you always drive, your leg muscles might atrophy. Similarly, if you never analyze information yourself because AI does it for you, your critical thinking muscles might get flabby. The study found that people who lean heavily on AI tools scored lower on tests that measure skills like evaluating sources or spotting logical fallacies.
And this effect was strongest in younger users.
Yes, younger participants, ages 17 to 25, were more likely to say things like, I just trust AI to give me answers. Older adults, especially those over 46, were more skeptical. They'd say, I cross-check AI recommendations with other sources. It's a generational divide in tech reliance.
But why? Are younger people just lazier?
No, it's about exposure. Younger generations grew up with smartphones and instant access to information. Their brains are wired to see AI as a default problem solver. Older adults remember a time when you had to dig through encyclopedias or call experts. That built different cognitive habits.
The study also found that education plays a role. People with advanced degrees had better critical thinking skills, even if they used AI a lot. How does that work?
Education trains you to question assumptions. If you've spent years in grad school, you're conditioned to ask, what's the methodology here? Are there conflicting studies? So when a PhD uses AI, they're more likely to fact-check its output. They've got a built-in baloney detector.
But isn't AI supposed to help us think better? Like, if a doctor uses AI to diagnose a rare disease, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. AI is a powerful tool. The problem isn't AI itself, it's how we use it. Imagine a student who uses ChatGPT to draft an essay. If they edit it, add their own insights and verify the facts, that's productive. But if they just copy-paste the AI's answer and submit it, that's a missed opportunity to engage their brain.
The study calls this the Google effect. What's that?
It's a phenomenon where people remember where to find information instead of the information itself. For example, you might forget Einstein's birth year but remember, I can Google it. That's efficient, but over time, It can erode your ability to retain knowledge or make connections between ideas.
So how do we strike a balance? Use AI without losing our critical thinking.
It's about intentionality. Treat AI like a collaborator, not a replacement. For instance, if an AI gives you a solution, ask yourself, why did it suggest this? What assumptions is it making? And educators need to design assignments that force students to synthesize AI-generated content with their own analysis.
The study also mentions algorithmic bias. How does that play into this?
AI tools often reflect the biases of their training data. If you blindly follow a biased algorithm, you might unknowingly adopt its flaws. Critical thinking acts as a filter. Let's say a hiring AI favors candidates from Ivy League schools. A critical thinker would ask, is this fair? What skills are we overlooking?
Let's get practical. What can listeners do today to keep their critical thinking sharp in an AI-driven world?
3 things. First, practice skepticism. When AI gives you an answer, dig deeper. Second, diversify your inputs. Don't let algorithms trap you in a filter bubble, read opposing viewpoints. Third, embrace discomfort. Solve puzzles, debate ideas, do mental math without a calculator. It's like going to the gym for your brain.
And if you're a parent or teacher,
Encourage curiosity over convenience. Instead of letting kids ask Alexa for quick answers, prompt them with, how do you think we could figure this out? Teach them to interrogate technology, not just consume it.
Dr. Torres, this has been enlightening. Any final thoughts?
AI isn't the enemy. It's a mirror. If we use it mindlessly, it'll reflect our laziest instincts. But if we use it thoughtfully, it can amplify our creativity and criticality. The choice is ours.
Wise words. Thanks for joining us, Alina. To our listeners, stay curious, stay critical, and we'll see you next time on AI on Advanced Intelligence Podcast.
Lecture topic: AI tools and cognitive offloading impact and future of critical thinking in the age of AI. All right, let's dive into something fascinating today. How the gadgets and algorithms we use every day, yes, your beloved ChatGPT, Google, and all those apps, might be quietly reshaping the way we think, and not always for the better. Now, I want you to imagine something. Suppose you're hiking in a dense forest and you've got a GPS guiding every step. It's efficient, right? You never get lost. But one day your GPS dies. Suddenly, you're forced to navigate by the sun, the moss on trees, the stars. Your brain kicks into gear. That's the difference between relying on AI and thinking for yourself. So let's start with the basics. What's critical thinking? It's not just being smart. It's the ability to dissect information, spot biases, connect ideas, and ask, does this make sense? Think of it like a mental Swiss Army knife. You use it to solve puzzles, weigh arguments, and avoid falling for conspiracy theories on TikTok. But here's the twist. Our shiny AI tools, chatbots, search engines, recommendation algorithms, are changing how we wield that Swiss Army knife. A recent study of 606 people found that the more we rely on AI, the rustier our critical thinking gets. Why? Enter cognitive offloading. Cognitive offloading sounds fancy, but it's simple. It's outsourcing brain work to external tools, like using a calculator for math or a grocery list instead of memorizing items. Harmless, right? But here's the catch. When we offload too much, our brains stop flexing those muscles. Imagine never doing squats because a robot carries you everywhere. Soon, your legs forget how to walk. AI takes this to a whole new level. Need to write an essay. ChatGPT drafts it. Forgot a historical fact. Google knows, can't decide what movie to watch. Netflix's algorithm picks for you. Convenient? Absolutely. But the study found that heavy AI users scored lower on critical thinking tests. They struggled to evaluate sources, spot logical fallacies, or solve problems without digital crutches. Now, let's talk about the Google effect. No, it's not a new app. It's the phenomenon where we remember where to find information, not the information itself. For example, you might forget Einstein's birthday, but remember, I can Google it. Efficient, sure. Dangerous, maybe. Over time, your brain stops storing knowledge because it assumes the internet is an external hard drive. But here's the kicker. The study found this effect hits younger people hardest. Participants aged 17 to 25 were more likely to say, I trust AI to handle it. Older folks, 46 and up, were skeptics. They'd say, I double-check AI with books or experts. Why the divide? Younger generations grew up with smartphones in their cribs. Their brains are wired to see AI as the default problem solver. Alexa, what's the capital of Kazakhstan? Siri, how do I solve this equation? ChatGPT, write my history paper. But here's the good news. Education acts like a vaccine against mindless AI reliance. The study showed that people with advanced degrees, even if they used AI a lot, kept their critical thinking sharp. Why? Because education trains you to ask, wait, why is this true? It's like having a built-in fact-checker. Let me tell you a story. Imagine two students. Student A uses ChatGPT to write an essay. They copy-paste the answer, hit submit, and binge Netflix. Student B uses ChatGPT too, but then they tear apart its arguments, add their own insights, and fact-check every claim. Guess who's flexing their critical thinking muscles now? Let's get controversial. AI isn't evil. It's a tool. The problem isn't the tool, it's how we use it. Think of AI like a chainsaw. In the hands of a trained lumberjack, it's brilliant. In the hands of a toddler, catastrophic. Take healthcare. AI can diagnose diseases faster than any human. But if doctors blindly follow its recommendations without asking, why did it suggest this treatment? What data is it missing? Well, that's how mistakes happen. The study calls this algorithmic bias. AI reflects the biases of its training data. If it's trained on flawed studies, it'll give flawed answers. Critical thinking is the antidote. So how do we stay sharp in an AI-driven world? 3 rules: be a detective, not a passenger. When AI gives you an answer, interrogate it. Why did you say that? What's your source? Diversify your inputs. Don't let algorithms trap you in a filter bubble. Read books. Talk to people who disagree with you. Embrace mental push-ups. Do a crossword puzzle. Debate a friend. Calculate a tip without your phone. And educators, listen up. Design assignments that force students to wrestle with ideas. Instead of write a paper on climate change, use AI to draft a paper, then find 3 flaws in its arguments. Time's almost up. Let's recap. AI is like fire, a powerful servant but a dangerous master. Cognitive offloading isn't inherently bad, but overreliance turns your brain into a couch potato. Education. It's the gym membership your mind needs. So next time you reach for your phone to Google something, pause. Ask yourself, can I figure this out on my own? Your brain will thank you.